So, hello everybody. I am Ananya and welcome to my podcast. The theme of my podcast is how do you really stay artistic? So, for our guest today, we have Susan Fraser Hughes. Susan is a contemporary artist, and art or drawing for her allows her to visually connect with her subjects in an immediate way. It's lovely to have you on, Susan. Anything you have to
Thank
say?
you. Thank you. No, lovely to be here.
Yeah. So, I have a couple of questions I have in mind, and I would love to hear your answers and your opinions on that. So, I think let's begin.
Okay.
How and when did you really know that art was your calling? You wanted to have a career in art.
I have always done art, right throughout my life. I didn't consider it my calling until later on. I decided I wanted to be a teacher, and I was focused on that from a young age. Even though I was doing things to do with art, I just felt that that was where I wanted to sort of direct my attention. So I did, and then about halfway through my teaching degree, I realized art was what I should be doing. And I finished my degree. I taught for 7 years, and they were incredible years for me. But when I moved to Canada, I came on a teacher exchange to Canada, and I met my husband. And when I came here, I wasn't allowed to use my qualifications. And so I used that as my opportunity to start to go into art full time. So I knew, but it wasn't until I had the opportunity to actually pursue it that I could really start to look at it as my calling.
That's great. So, how long back would you say it was?
How long have I been doing the art?
When was the Canada period and the teaching qualification period? Like, when did you realize that this was your calling? How long back?
Probably about 26 years ago.
That's a long
So
time, and that's great.
a very long time. It has been a journey for me. I went into art thinking that there was one particular direction I wanted to go, and I absolutely didn't go in that direction. And
Okay.
every time I think I know where I'm going, I pivot, and it's another direction. So it started with a calling, but it's become a journey. Like it's just an ever changing journey.
That's great, and I'm also very amused to learn that despite not doing what you actually had in mind, you did continue on and you were able to succeed in that. That's great.
Sorry, I completely missed that. Go again.
I'm saying despite you not having something else in mind and going on a different path, you
hmm
still succeeded on that journey and you still are successful in that journey. That's great to learn.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know that. Do I consider that I've succeeded? I don't know. When I went into art, I went in thinking that I wanted to do commercial art. I wanted to do art that would hang on people's walls, and that they would just be able to sort of visually enjoy. And when I started creating, it was not the sort of art I expected that would come out. And things like self portraits, and I was doing very dark art, and I didn't seem to like it when I put paint on the on a canvas. It didn't seem to sit well with me, and it sort of started. I knew when I finished my undergrad that I had no idea why I was doing the sort of art that I was doing, and consequently went straight into a master's program to try and use that research to help me sort of resolve that. And, even today, even after a PhD, I still think I don't, I still think I'm on this incredible journey that's just changing all the time. That things I read or things I see is just directing. So some moments I think, yes, that's exactly what I want. And the next moment I think, no, that's not anywhere near where I want to be. So
Yeah, but that's great that that you have something that's taking you along a path, like a
it
path
is.
to
It's
success, if you could call that. You're just following that path. and
I
going
am following
somewhere.
the path, yes, and I'm not sure what success. I think I would define success by how much I'm growing through the process and how much I can communicate some of the things that I'm learning through that process. That probably would be that probably what I would indicate as success for me at the moment.
Absolutely. No, I completely believe that everybody has their own definitions and their own ideas of being successful. So that's lovely to hear. So, where would you say you find your inspiration to create art? Do you base any event on it, or do you just create what you have in mind?
My art is what I would call reactionary. So it's a reaction to a place, or it's a reaction to a moment, or it's a reaction to an object. And for example, I walk in the woods with a friend once a week, and she is a writer, and she she and I sort of talk about things that we're reading, things that we've learned, and there might be a moment in that forest where there'll be a shaft of light that just comes through the trees, and I know that that moment is the moment that I have to then communicate in my art. So that afternoon I'll go home and I'll try and capture that energy, that feeling that I had. Or it might be an object that I find in, it has to be an older object, and I'll find it in an antique store, and I'll pick it up, and there's an energy there that I connect with. I don't know why. It's not an object that has any personal meaning to me, but I then try and explore why I'm resonating with that object through my art. So the connection will come at different places, and it's like a gateway to sort of enter why I'm connecting, trying and exploring why I'm connecting so strongly with those things.
But that's lovely. I mean, not to, have any, I would say, any indirect, it's an indirect sign, basically, if you would call that. So, just go on and pick up a brush and do art, create whatever you had in mind, basically, right?
It's a reaction. It's always a
Yeah.
reaction. I've reacted to like old places, ruins, for example. I've walked in and I resonate with the energy there. I would sort of describe it's like if you can imagine a tuning fork. If you have two tuning forks, and if you hit one and it's of the same frequency, it vibrates in the other. That's what it's like for me. So I'll walk in and I can feel something about that place that's resonating with me, and generally one element within that place that has some sort of connection inside, usually some sort of memories, art. I just follow it, and as soon as that feeling has gone, as soon as I feel like I'm contriving what I'm drawing, I'm not drawing from an instinctual place, a place that's I'm thinking too much about it, then that connection has gone, and that's where I'll stop a series.
Oh, okay. So would you say that you have had a failed or an unsuccessful experience with creating art? Like something
Many,
you were not happy with, right?
many, many, all the time. Particularly if it comes a place where I'm thinking too much about what I'm doing. If I can get to that place where it's purely about the connection, if I'm working from that place of the connection, that is well evolve.
That's great. And would you say that being an artist with a full-time job is a possibility? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Or what do you say on that?
I think it depends person on the sort of work that they're creating. I think it depends on where you want to take it, and some comes down to luck, and some comes down to effort, and some comes down to the the type of work that you're creating, and whether there are people who connect with the sort of work that you're creating. So there are so many variables, yes, but it's
Absolutely.
dependent.
No, absolutely agree with that. And I would lastly would like to ask you how did you get where you currently are, and how do you feel about it? Are you happy?
How
Do
do I
you
get?
want? Sorry,
How do I say? Go again?
I want to ask that how did you really get where you are at this moment, and how do you feel about yourself at this point? About yourself, about where you are
As myself as a person or as myself as an artist?
as an artist, but both actually, like just entirely as in brief, basically how you feel about yourself to be an artist and coming this long that ways.
I think I am incredibly proud that I've stuck to my way of doing things, regardless of reactions I've had from people, regardless of any success or non success that I've had. I just know that I am doing the sort of art I'm meant to be doing, and for that, I'm incredibly proud, but it has come with a lot of battles. It comes with, there's times where you're not making money, there's times where you're not exhibiting, there's times where you're faced with, very negative feedback. But it's just staying. And so for me, I think I know that I'm on the right path. I know that the work I'm creating is the sort of work I'm creating. And so it keeps me going forward regardless of everything else.
The trust you have in yourself, in your art, and in whatever path you're being led on to. That's a great, great, great story and great to hear about.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it was lovely to have you on, and thank you so much for doing this again with me.
You're very welcome. And I'm excited to see what you're going to produce here. So,
Absolutely, yes.
yeah. All right.
So
Thank
thank
you
you so
very
much for
much.
doing this. Yeah.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.